Welcome in to another episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube. Today, Dynasty sells. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Let's go. So, first player, Justin Fields, and we've had some issues. There was the toe issue. There were other things. He's not looking so great at camp, and it kind of doesn't surprise me because throughout his career, he's been, last year, 10 games, 6 starts, 65.8% completion, 5 touchdowns and interception, 6.9 yards per attempt, 62 carries, 289 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He was okay, but still inefficient as a passer. Wasn't nearly as much running as he had in 2022 or 2023. You were not getting a league winner. He was good. I mean, for fantasy, he was fine, but not winning you anything. He averaged 184.3 passing yards and 38.5 rushing yards per game in those 6 starts. That would have paced for 3,133 passing yards and 655 rushing yards over a 17-game season. Again, that's fine, but you're not winning a league with that. That's not game-breaking. That's not winning your fantasy league by itself. So we have to kind of look now at, what are we getting out of Justin Fields? There's a big disconnect with his fantasy value and real-life value. Justin Fields is and has been one of the worst quarterbacks in the league as a real life player. I mean, as a starter, he's a consistent loser. He's 14-30. I mean, it's not good. That's not going to help him get another starting job. Other teams are not going to look and see, well, we want this guy. The big thing, though, is the sacks. This is something that fantasy managers often overlook. Sacks don't matter for fantasy football, but they're killer for real life football. They're one of the things that kills drives the most because it gets you back, you lose a down, and you lose yards. It's a drive killer. And he has 151 and 44 starts, 50 games played. So it's a lot. That's a lot. I mean, you're looking at over 50 a season, which is an insane number. So that's not good. And then when we move on to another problem, the Jets win total sits at 6.5. And that's under is minus 150 favorite at FanDuel. Even at 5.5, the odds are close to 50-50. So you're looking at about 6 wins projected for the Jets. That's nowhere near being a winning team. If the Jets are 6-11, I can tell you Justin Fields is not going to be their guy for 2026. That's not going to happen. He signed a 2-year, $40 million deal this offseason with $30 million guaranteed. I mean, that's fine, but that's not really starting quarterback money. They could save $10 million if they use the post-June 1 cut on him next year. They can easily move on. He also only has a $23 million cap hit for next year, which in today's economy, that's bridge quarterback money. They could easily keep him, draft a quarterback in the first round, and use him as a bridge for a new rookie. Absolutely. He has zero long-term security. None at all. Now, how do you move on? Of course, we don't care about Fields in 1 QB. So all of these teams trades are 12-team Superflex. The first, there were many versions of this. 26 first. I'd rather just have the 26 first. Have something I know is going to be valuable. Whereas Justin Fields in a year's time could be totally worthless. This one is probably not realistic, but was in there something like 27 first and Xavier Worthy. There are deals like that. So you can always, some people are going to see Justin Fields. They're going to see fantasy points. Yes, I want that. But they're not considering that in Dynasty, you have to look at multiple years. If Justin Fields is not a starter in 2026, those fantasy points are great, but you're going to have a dead asset in a year. And then lastly, kind of like this one, Justin Fields in 110 for Bo Nix and Austin Eckler. Who cares about him? Bo Nix, to me, I have some question marks about him also, but Bo Nix is going to be a starter for at least the next 2 years, probably more. Whereas Justin Fields basically is priced like he's going to fail. All of the passing line is 2,600 yards. Like, the win total is low. Justin Fields is priced as if he's going to fail. So I would rather have the Bo Nix side, especially with this year's class and 110 not being as strong as it might be in another year. So use this opportunity to move on from Justin Fields. The next up is Davante Adams. And I've discussed the Matthew Stafford situation. I do think he's going to play week 1. I think there's a lot of risk. 37-year-old with a lot of back problems. That doesn't sound so good. And the old thinking of Davante Adams for this year was assuming was, the ADP and the redraft take was locked in 3 months ago. We're getting 100% Stafford. Oh, he could be this, he could be that. We're not getting that. So we have to reevaluate what we're getting from Davante Adams. We look at last year. Overall, he was still pretty good. 85 catches, 1,063 yards, 8 touchdowns, 141 targets in 14 games, 6.1 catches, and 75.9 yards a game, over 10 targets a game. Very solid. And he wasn't that different, actually, across the Raiders and the Jets. With the Raiders, 6 catches and 69.7 yards per game. With the Jets, 6 catches, 6.1, and 77.6 yards a game, 7 touchdowns. So it was really the touchdowns, a little bit more on the yards. It was lower than 2022, better than 2023. Adams was still good last year. However, if there is no Matthew Stafford or a limited Matthew Stafford, I don't think we're getting 100% Matthew Stafford. I think the best case is we're getting 90% Matthew Stafford, and that holds up for the whole year. That's the best case. The bad cases are bad. No Stafford, minimal Stafford, totally limited Stafford. Because the backup is Jimmy Garoppolo. And we saw that Garoppolo and Adams, everyone saw that video. They don't get along. You can try and say, it'll be okay. It won't be okay. Davante Adams did not sign with the Rams to play with Jimmy Garoppolo. He signed to play with Matthew Stafford. Davante Adams is not going to be some people are saying wide receiver 1. I don't see that. High-end wide receiver 2 even with Garoppolo. That's not going to happen. I'll tell you that right now. Especially with Puka Nacua on the team, who by most metrics was the best wide receiver in the league last year. So none of that is going to happen. These good things for Davante Adams, for Jimmy Garoppolo, out of the question. So Adams is old. He's 32, turns 33 in December. Most wide receivers, you hit 32, and that's it. That's it. They're done, finished. The decline is immediate, and it's irreversible at that point. You have a few outliers, but they're outliers. Those are the ones you remember. Most wide receivers, 32, 33. That's just it. It's possible Adams breaks the mold, but we're not going to get that with Jimmy Garoppolo. We'll get that with Stafford, maybe, but not the Stafford with broken back or Jimmy Garoppolo. We're not getting that. So I think this is the kind of thing to sell Davante Adams. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see what Matthew Stafford looks like. It's not going to be good. It's a question of how bad. I don't want to see it. I don't want to find out. I want to sell Davante Adams before I see it. So I have 3 ideas. But first, this one probably not realistic. Sell Davante Adams for 27 first. I did see it in the trade, Dynasty Daddy trade database. It is what it is. The next one may be a little more realistic. Calvin Ridley in a 27 second. If we're getting Jimmy Garoppolo, Davante Adams and Calvin Ridley are not that different in value. So I'm getting the 27 second. By the time we get there, that'll be the most valuable thing in this trade. So I kind of like it. I like these deals where I'm getting an extra pick in the future. Typically, this is the style of deal I often end up doing, player for player, where I get a pick. And then the last, Davante Adams and Kenneth Walker for Devonta Smith in 26 second again. Obviously, if I had to pick an asset here, Devonta Smith is the one I like the most. And, I'm kind of upgrading from Walker to Smith. I see that as an upgrade. And then I'm getting out from Adams for a second, which is fine. So these are some deals you could have done could still do to move on from Davante Adams. But I don't think you'll regret it. I don't think that with the Stafford we have, you're going to be like, oh, wow, I missed out on a top 5 season from Davante Adams. I don't think that's in the range of outcomes anymore, which is why I'm comfortable selling Davante Adams at these prices right now. Now, if you like my YouTube content, you should sign up for the Patreon. I'm offering a 50% discount off your first month at all tiers using code TylerYT50. You can sign up in the top right corner, patreon.com/fantasyadvice. Click that link, type in the code TylerYT50 to get 50% off your first month. A lot of people are taking me up on this offer. So this is a great time to join. Now, you can get all my rankings, access to the Discord, write-ups, Patreon-only videos, direct message fantasy advice, and the ability to ask in-advance questions for the YouTube videos on there. Tiers begin at just $5 a month, $250 with the discount. If you want to know more about the Patreon, check out my Why You Should Join the Patreon videos on the channel. They're on the homepage under Patreon promos. It details everything, all of these things that I talked about, everything that I'm offering. Now, I'm telling you, you are going to appreciate the value of the Patreon. Nothing is as active as the Patreon. A lot of other creators, they say, oh, join this or do that. You join it and then you hear from the creator maybe once a week. We don't do that. I don't do that here. You're going to hear from me every day, probably multiple times per day about every single topic, very exhaustively, very complete coverage of everything. So we're going to do that in the Patreon. I'm not going to do it in other places. I'm not going to be doing it in other places. Not in the YouTube comments, not on Twitter. Only in the Patreon will I be covering all of the news, all rankings, all, weekly start sit will be in the Patreon and other things like that. So I really, really love that a lot of people have joined recently. I'm hoping to see more people join. Again, patreon.com/fantasy advice. Code TylerYT50 for 50% off your first month. With that said, I'll get into my final player. So my last player today is David Montgomery, who I don't think I've really talked about on the channel at all. And again, I'm not saying that he's bad. I'm not saying that. I'm just a little nervous about Montgomery specifically with the Lions offense, some of the things I'm hearing recently. Last year, he was good. 185 carries, 775 yards, 12 touchdowns, 4.2 yards of carry, and 36 catches for 341 yards. Some things here, though, the 12 touchdowns, that's a lot. And he more than doubled his catches and tripled his receiving yards per game in 2024 compared to 2023. I don't think we're going to see that again. I think we're going to go back to the receiving usage of 2023. We're going to see less of it in 2025. He averaged 15.5 PPR points a game, 16th among running backs. So when everything went right, he was only 16th. So that's kind of the upside. What would happen if some things went wrong? And there are a lot of things that could go wrong. Touchdown regression. There's two types of touchdown regression. Number one, he scored 12 touchdowns on 185 carries at just 4.2 yards a carry. 12 touchdowns on 185 carries is not going to happen again. I understand that it happened. It's just not, it's hard to duplicate that. And then the Lions offense, there's no chance this is happening. 68 rushing and receiving touchdowns in 2024. So there's 17 games. So that's 4 per game. Not happening again. That cannot happen again. It will not happen again. So they scored over 100 more points than they did in 2023. It's not happening. You cannot project an offense for 4 rushing and receiving touchdowns per game. That's out of the question. So if those things are not happening, then what happens if we don't see Montgomery play the entire first quarter like we did in 2024? You remember that, right? You would see, if you had Jahmyr Gibbs on your fantasy team, you would see that he would have like a 0 through 10 minutes because Montgomery was playing all that time. The Lions have a new offensive coordinator. They have a new running back coach. And I think that in practice, we're seeing Jahmyr Gibbs is starting things off. I think we're going to see, if I had to guess, who plays snap 1, week 1, I would guess it's Jahmyr Gibbs, not David Montgomery. So I think we're going to see more of Jahmyr Gibbs than we've seen in the past. Now, down the stretch of 2024, Gibbs is great. He had increased work, 21.3 carries, 121.7 yards, and 4.3 catches and 40.7 yards a game in the 3 games Montgomery missed. I'm not saying this is the usage we're going to have. If it were, I would have Gibbs ranked as the RB1 in redraft, which I don't. But there's no doubt that every carry given to Montgomery is a minus compared to those given to Gibbs. Gibbs is a much better player. It's not close. It's not comparable. Gibbs is way better. Now we see 21.3 carries here. Gibbs averaged 14.7 carries in 2024, and that's across all games, including these 3. Is it going to be 21.3 carries a game? No. Is it going to be 14.7? I think it's going to be more. I think it's going to be a little bit more than that. And if the Lions face more negative game scripts, because it would be almost impossible to face more positive ones than they did last year, I think we could see fewer carries overall as well. And I think that more comes out of Montgomery's share than Gibbs, especially if the game scripts are a little bit more negative than they were. Now, Montgomery has no contract guarantees after 2025. He can easily be cut in 2026 when he'll be 29 years old. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's a possibility. He doesn't have any security after this year. If it goes wrong, if he looks bad, the Lions can move on. Nothing is stopping them. So it's a possibility. Now, to sell David Montgomery, you're probably not going to get a massive return, but there were some good deals in there. The first one, David Montgomery for Bryce Young in the Superflex, I think that's self-explanatory. We obviously want Bryce Young. The next one I thought was kind of interesting. David Montgomery for Jalen Warren, Rashid Shaheed in a 27-second. I kind of like what I'm hearing about Jalen Warren. I think Jalen Warren is going to give you maybe not the production of David Montgomery, but it's not going to be that far off. And the 27-second, I think, again, in a year's time is probably going to be the most valuable thing here. So I like this one. And then if you want a simpler version, 26-second and 27-second. I think 1 single second, you can probably do better than that for Montgomery. 2 seconds, I'd easily move on and just take the picks and move on from David Montgomery while you still can. So I'm going to do a full breakdown of preseason on Monday, where I'll break down all of preseason week 1. But I did want to touch on Anthony Richardson's finger injury. He was forced out of the Colts preseason game with a finger injury. We saw it was kind of a pinky issue. He missed the hot, he had to get the ball out hot on that play. Totally missed it. So that wasn't great to see that. Now, the Colts played their starting quarterback without any of their starting offensive linemen. That was stupid. So whatever. That's not the point. The point is, it sounds like he's going to be okay. Sounds like he could even practice soon. There's nothing broken. I don't think this is going to be a long-term injury, but we were robbed of that critical time to play. I don't know if he's going to be ready to play in preseason week 2. That seems like a quick turnaround and a risk that the Colts may not want to take. Now, the odds, Richardson was like a minus 350, minus 375 favorite to be the Colts week 1 starting quarterback. He's still favorite, but now it's down to minus 245 at FanDuel. So they still think he's going to be this week 1 starter. I think there is now some doubt. Whereas before I thought it was close to a lock that Richardson would be the week 1 starter. I'm hoping that this is just a blip on the radar, but I'm just concerned that it just feels like with Richardson, everything is always going wrong. I don't know if he's just cursed or unlucky or whatever, but I'm not loving that any momentum he had was eliminated in like 5 minutes of the first preseason game of this year. So again, I still think he'll start week 1, but the vibes around the Colts are not good. I think that you'll see in 2026, completely different quarterback, completely different general manager, and completely different head coach of the Colts. Everyone will be cleaned out after what happens to the Colts this year. I'm not very optimistic about the Colts in 2025 from a real life perspective. So I've got one Patreon question, and then we'll wrap up the show. Which players are most likely to be traded in season? How will that impact their value? So typically, for wide receivers, it's usually negative. Davante Adams was a rare one where it was positive because he was going to a quarterback he was very familiar with. But it's more often we get the Amari Cooper thing where he's traded and it just doesn't work out. In terms of who's likely to be traded, projecting trades is always a losing battle. I would say Kirk Cousins, Jameis Winston, if other quarterbacks go down and they're needed, those definitely would be ones. Kenny Pickett as well, although he's not as high level. Other than that, there's really not that many players that like stand out as, wow, they're going to be traded. It really depends on which teams are doing badly. I would say maybe Travis Etienne is someone who could be traded if he becomes unwanted. He's in the final year of his contract. But again, projecting trades, typically not a winning battle, typically not something we're expecting. And, usually if someone's traded, it means their existing team didn't want them. So typically it's more often negative than positive. Like Deontay Johnson last year, he went from valuable to worthless, but it could go either way. Now, if you like the video, make sure to support the channel by subscribing. And don't forget to hit that notifications bell so you can be notified about all my exciting content as it drops. Of course, if you want my best fantasy football advice, it's available on the Patreon. All fantasy football content year-round, and we're going to have redraft, start sit. It's all there on the Patreon. 50% discount at all tiers using code TylerYT50. You can sign up in the top right corner, patreon.com/fantasy advice. Every sign-up helps support my independent fantasy football content. But once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.